Hey guys, welcome back to Ultimate S&S. I know what you're thinking, 2 videos in a day within probably a couple of hours of each other. I think this is important to share, guys. So, what's happening right now over in Europe? We all know what's happening with the conflict over there. But what I think is very interesting that people need to realize is there are what they call hunger stones. There's actually a German translation to that, but they come into English as hunger stones. And what they are finding over in the Elbe River and other areas over there, they're finding these huge boulders that have these warnings carved in them. And they date back to around 1616. That's pretty far back, guys. But anyway, so what they are saying is if you see this stone, weep, because the droughts are so severe when it gets to that level that it's showing that the famines and that the food processes of those areas are fixing to drop dramatically, and people will start starving just as it happened in the 1600s. And we're going to show you a picture of that real quick. We can learn a lot from our past. We can learn a lot of warnings. See, we get a lot of this cave art here in North America and all over the world, really. And people look at it and they go, okay, well, what are they trying to show here? Well, most of those things that they show are warnings when those things become visible because of erosions or whatever in the areas and stuff that are happening, natural disasters and stuff. They're finding these new stones that have warnings on them about different types of things. Some of this stuff shows where maybe the hunting has gone down. It shows where the crops are suffering. And a lot of it actually shows these weird looking types of entity type being things that are coming out of these portals and stuff. I know that sounds far fetched and crazy, but here's some of those photos for you. Those who like to ignore the past, those who like to erase it, those who forget it are doomed to repeat it. And we're seeing a lot of this all over the world now. I think it's very detrimental that we continue our preps. I know we have people saying, oh no, everything's going to be fine here in a year, everything's going to be fine here in a couple years. But understand this. It's not just that you can click a button and you're in the year when it's going to be plenty. You have to live through those sections. And are you going to be able to survive living through that? So I think really when you look at what's happening from the past, even Christ himself, guys, when he was here, he directed us back into the Old Testament because these are things that were warned about that were happening then, and he says they're going to happen again. And he says that sin is a direct result of or a direct cause of what the result is, which is these droughts and these famines. These are punishments being poured out upon the world. These are the beginning of labor pains. These are the beginning of the tribulation, not the 7-year tribulation period, but the tribulation of the saints. Because as we see these things happening, Christ warns us that then we will be handed up to persecution. We will be handed out. We will be arrested, and we will be watching people that claim they're believers, that they will actually be turning other believers in. And we've seen a lot of that stuff happen during the Holocaust and stuff like that as well, guys. I think it's important that we realize that history has a tendency to continue to repeat itself. And the reason why is because we see a rise of sin, and then eventually we'll see it conquered over. And I don't think we're going to be seeing a section of this life today that we're living where we're going to watch the conquering and the removal of that sin before a 7-year tribulation period. And the reason I say that is even during the past, back 1600s, the World War I, World War IIs, and large events like that, there was always a pretty good group of believers. I know there's a lot of people that profess that they are believers, but do they live that life? Do they have those fruits of the Spirit that we're told to watch for? We're warned that Satan masquerades as an angel of light, and that he actually has believers who will masquerade the same way, that they are believers when they're really not. So it's important in today's society, while you're prepping, guys, be mindful of who you tell about prepping. Now, obviously, there's people that voice concerns. Well, you're talking about prepping on a channel. Correct. But you don't know directly where I'm at. And we're also prepped up in response of things as well. You need to understand when it comes to prepping in today's society, don't just meet some random stranger or whatever and start telling them that, that you're prepping, that you're putting all this food back, stuff like that. Now you can share with them that, hey, maybe you need to start prepping. You got prices coming up, the empty shelves that are happening and stuff like that. That makes a lot of sense to me. Water filtrations, figuring out different water sources and stuff in the meantime. So your wells may end up running dry. You may not have the stuff to run your wells. So you need to know where there's some streams at, where there's some water sources as well. One of the great things about the Florida area is you don't have to go far and you can find water pretty quick. Now you're going to have to decontaminate a lot of that water, simply because people leave trash laying around. You've got factories dumping and stuff like that. Make sure you're not in a dump zone where you have factories dumping chemicals in it. Even though that's illegal, they do it all the time. It's easier to just pay the fine than to actually dispose of that stuff properly. It's a lot cheaper for those guys. That's why they do it. And then they'll buy a lot of these things from the EPA where you're only allowed so much pollution, but the company next to you, maybe they have some left on their stuff, so they buy it from them. Okay, and that keeps you from seeing those hefty fines as well. So it's not really right to do that, but that's what we're seeing. So you need to make sure that you're looking at good filtration systems and stuff. I don't hold affiliate links and stuff like that on a lot of stuff, but there are a lot of really good filtration systems out there. If that's something you're interested in, I would definitely recommend that you go over to Survival Living and see some of the setups that he's got over there. I know we've used a few of those filter systems in the past whenever we would have issues over here, and it really helps. If you're needing a personal deal, if you're going out hiking or something, then yeah, like the Sawyer mini straw, things like that. But there's a lot of really large bulk filters that are out there as well, and I would recommend that you at least have a few of those in setup, just in case of a scenario where your well goes down and you have to start looking to outside water sources while you're getting your well back up. So what do we need to do? Well, we as believers, we need to, well, first and foremost, guys, we need to keep our faith in the Lord, because he promises that during those times of drought and times of famine, that his children will be eating. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to have so much food that we're all sitting around getting fat, mind you. But we need to be obedient in the way that he directs. And right now, I feel, at least in my life, that he's directing to prep. And that is to continue to buy food, buy canned foods, buy dehydrated foods and stuff like that, or dehydrate our own foods as we do here as well, guys. So those are going to be some things that you're going to have to talk to your spouses and your family about. And y'all need to figure out what's best for y'all. But the main thing to take away from this is, don't just listen to what the experts are telling you. You need to look at what's happening around us and look at what's happening around the world. And you have these hunger stones and these drought stones that are now appearing in fields and in the rivers and stuff that date back to the 1600s, and some of them even further back, guys. And they're telling us, when you're seeing this stuff, it's time to be acting. You're actually probably beyond the beginning of action point if it's telling you to weep. So I hope everyone has a great day. We'll see you later.